Welcome to the masterclass. To master computer networks, you have to track the exact path data takes as it scales from a single localized file on a hard drive to a coordinated transmission across the globe. We will map this infrastructure from the inside out. Early computation was defined by immense physical space and manual labor. Operating a machine like the ENIAC meant physically rerouting thick cables by hand just to perform basic calculations. Today, that entire room of infrastructure has been reduced to microscopic electrical pulses. But every global communication still originates at a precise physical location, a single file resting on a local hard drive. Before a computer can send data, it must identify the data type. This classification happens through the file extension, the digital suffix that acts as an identity tag, instructing the operating system exactly how to read and process the bytes. For exams, document extensions are high yield. Microsoft Word uses .docx, while plain text uses .txt. Spreadsheets use .XLSX for Excel workbooks and .csv for raw data exports. This grid maps out media and system file distinctions. On the left, we separate media into lossy formats like JPEG, which permanently remove data to save space, and lossless formats like PNG, which preserve full quality. On the right, system files are split between compressed archives like zip and executable programs ending in .exe. Understanding these conversions is a frequent exam target. We convert DOCX to PDF to lock formatting for secure sharing. We convert uncompressed audio like WAV into MP3 because lossy compression significantly reduces the file size, allowing 60 minutes of music to fit within a 50-megabyte footprint. File extensions give data its form and purpose. But to interact with the world, this software must find a physical exit out of the machine. A port is the physical interface where data bridges the gap between internal motherboards and external peripherals. This timeline illustrates the speed evolution of universal data ports. USB 2.0 maxes out at 480 megabits per second. USB 3.0 jumps to 5 gigabits. And the Intel-developed Thunderbolt port scales even higher, carrying video, audio, and data through a single high-speed connection. The display matrix shows a strict technological divide. The older VGA connector is limited by an analog signal. Modern interfaces like HDMI and DisplayPort transmit high-definition digital signals, carrying both video and audio simultaneously. To actually leave the computer and enter a network, the data routes to a specific interface, the RJ45, commonly known as the Ethernet port. Once the data file passes through these pins, it leaves the local operating system and enters the environment of local networking infrastructure. The hardware driving that Ethernet port is the Network Interface Card, or NIC. Every NIC is permanently assigned a unique 48-bit hexadecimal hardware address by the manufacturer, the MAC address. To understand how hardware directs these addresses, we use the OSI model, a framework that categorizes networking devices by their intelligence and capability. This diagram demonstrates a hub, which operates at the bottom of the OSI model, Layer 1, the physical layer. It has no intelligence. It cannot read MAC addresses. When it receives data, it blindly broadcasts copies to every connected device, causing network traffic jams and data collisions. The repeater is another Layer 1 device. It also cannot filter or read data. Its sole function is to take a weak electrical signal, regenerate it, and push it further down the wire to extend the network's reach. Because Layer 1 devices cannot read addresses, relying on them creates digit chaos. A functional network requires smarter devices to manage traffic. Moving up to Layer 2, the data link layer, we introduce the switch. This is the intelligent successor to the hub. Watch how a switch handles the same traffic. It reads the incoming 48-bit MAC address and forwards the data only to the intended destination device. By sending data only where it is needed, a switch eliminates the collisions that plague hubs. Also operating at Layer 2 is the bridge. A bridge connects similar LAN segments and acts as a filter. If a PC in LAN A sends data to another PC in LAN A, the bridge stops it from crossing over, keeping unnecessary traffic out of the other segment. If a device isn't physically plugged in, it relies on a wireless access point, or WAP. The WAP provides Wi-Fi connectivity, acting as the bridge between wireless devices and the wired LAN. Layer 2 devices efficiently manage local traffic using MAC addresses. However, MAC addresses are hardware-specific and carry no geographical information, making them insufficient for sending data across the Internet. To escape the local environment, data must move up to Layer 3, the network layer, where the router operates. This table highlights a critical exam distinction. A switch uses local MAC addresses at Layer 2. A router uses logical IP addresses at Layer 3. The router uses these IP addresses to determine the best geographical path to connect separate networks. When those two networks use different communication protocols, a gateway is required. It acts as a protocol converter, translating the incoming data structure into a format the destination network can interpret. At the very edge of the network sits security. The firewall enforces predefined rules, monitoring traffic and blocking unauthorized access from the outside world. Alongside it, the modem modulates digital signals into analog for transmission over telephone lines and demodulates incoming analog signals back into digital form. With its IP route determined and edge security cleared, the local data is now fully prepared for transmission across global infrastructure. Once data leaves the building, the network it travels through is categorized by its geographical radius. This map visualizes the scale. The smallest radius is a PAN, or Personal Area Network, connecting personal devices within a 10-meter range. Expand that to a single building or office, and you have a LAN, or Local Area Network. Scale up to cover multiple buildings on a campus or military base, and it becomes a CAN, or Campus Area Network. Push that radius to cover an entire city, approximately 5 to 50 kilometers, and you establish a MAN, or Metropolitan Area Network. The largest scale is the WAN, or Wide Area Network. This spans across countries and continents, forming the backbone of the Internet. Specialized environments also exist within these zones. A SAN, or Storage Area Network, provides high-speed lines for data centers, and a VPN, or Virtual Private Network, creates a secure connection over the Internet for remote work and privacy. The document file we identified on a local hard drive has now navigated ports, switches, and routers to reach the other side of the planet. We can now synthesize these components into one final master matrix. This grid aligns the hardware to its operational logic. Hubs and repeaters sit at Layer 1 and read 0 addresses. Switches and bridges operate at Layer 2, routing traffic using hardware MAC addresses. Routers live at Layer 3, dictating paths using IP addresses. Notice the exact locations where candidates often lose marks, confusing the blind broadcast of a hub with the precise forwarding of a switch, or mismatching Layer 2 MAC addresses with Layer 3 IP protocols. Pause the video here. Take a screenshot of this matrix for your revision notes. Memorizing isolated facts is only the beginning. Mastering this section requires you to understand the scale of connectivity, how data moves from a physical motherboard to a global network. Study the hierarchy, and we will see you in the next masterclass.